The incident I'm about to describe isn't something that happened in the past. It's actually an ongoing, chilling anecdote that is also happening to someone else. Let's go back 3 years ago to a weekend when my husband and I set off from home, filled with excitement. Our destination was an island, and upon arrival, we were mesmerized by the breathtaking scenery. Our anticipation for camping grew even stronger. We had chosen a location known for its stunning valley, the perfect spot for an overnight stay. However, as we started ascending the mountain, a strange feeling crept over us. We couldn't help but wonder, why is there no one else here? Throughout the entire hike, we didn't come across a single person going up or down. It felt eerie, and the sense of foreboding grew. Suddenly, a fierce gust of wind swept through, causing the trees to sway violently. In an instant, everything turned dark, and I found myself overcome by an overwhelming dizziness. I struggled to catch my breath as I was on the verge of collapsing. At that moment, I opened my eyes to see my husband clutching a worn-out, faded piece of red cloth. To my horror, it was wrapped tightly around my neck, choking me. I turned my head to follow the direction from which the red fabric had come. What I saw left me spellbound and sent shivers down my spine. Long, colorful pieces of cloth, red, yellow, blue, entwined between the trees, fluttering in the wind. It was an incredible sight, an immensely large and vibrant azalea tree. A tree believed to ward off misfortune in the village. The sudden tearing of the cloth that surrounded the tree left me with an ominous feeling. All I wanted was to reach the summit and find some rest. However, to my dismay, my steps became slower and slower, as if something was impeding my progress. The shock had left my body feeling stiff, particularly my shoulders. They ached and felt like carrying a heavy load, alternating between heaviness and normalcy. It was as if someone was grabbing my shoulders from behind and violently bouncing around. I felt the weight of my shoulders being pressed down, an uncomfortable sensation that persisted throughout the climb. By the time we finally reached the summit, exhaustion had overtaken me completely. Even the sight of the beautiful sunset could only elicit a brief sigh. Overwhelmed by fatigue, we quickly set up the tent and fell into a deep sleep, hoping for some relief from the bizarre events of the day. That night, I should have come down from the mountain. Even now, I regret that moment. How did it all start? That was the sound emanating from the wooden deck. I woke up from my sleep and checked my phone. It was about 45 minutes past midnight. There was no one else who could have come up at this hour except for my husband and me. I thought it might be because of the wind, so I tried to go back to sleep, but once again, I heard that sound. This time, it was louder and clearer. That's when I realized it wasn't the sound of the wind. It was the sound of footsteps. I held my breath and listened carefully, but I couldn't identify the source of those footsteps. They were getting closer and closer to our tent. I was so scared that I attempted to wake up my husband, but everything around me became quiet, as if nothing had happened. Is it gone? I slowly and cautiously looked outside. Then, what appeared before my eyes was a dark shadow figure running towards the tent. It pierced, hit, clawed, and pounded the tent fabric. I desperately wanted to call out to my husband, yet my body wouldn't move and voice wouldn't come out. All I could do was pray that whatever it was would go away. However, contrary to my fervent wish, shortly afterward I heard another sound. Until now, something was looking for the zipper to open from the outside of our tent. The outer zipper was fully opened, and the inner zipper started to open little by little. In no time, a gap of about a foot opened up, and something pushed its way in. It was sharp, long nails.
Found you.
And then our eyes met, the owner of that voice. Her disheveled hair, sickly face, and her facial skin seemed to be oozing fluid. The woman gradually pushed herself into the tent and began to crawl slowly on the floor. And suddenly she pounced, grabbing me tightly from behind, saying,
"Wake up! Wake up!"
As soon as I opened my eyes, I hurriedly opened the tent and checked from the outside. There was no one there. Only then did the tension dissipate. However, I didn't say anything to my husband. There was no need to unnecessarily startle him. So, with wide-open eyes, we anxiously waited for dawn, and as soon as morning came, we quickly prepared to descend. That's when my husband asked, "What happened to you last night?" I explained what had happened last night, and soon his face turned suddenly pale as he hesitated to speak.
"I saw that woman too last night."
But what sent shivers down my spine was his following words. The woman who pounced towards me, that wasn't the end. She appeared behind me, reaching out her dripping arm and tightly grabbing me from behind. Desperate to separate her, my husband pushed her away. Next thing he saw was only me, drenched in sweat and moaning. After that night, the two of us became too afraid of backpacking alone, so my husband and I decided to join a camping club. A few months later, an intriguing camping review appeared in the club's chat room. As memories of that day resurfaced, I couldn't help but ask a question out of curiosity to one of the members who have recently visited that camping site. "Did you sleep well in that island?" Surprisingly, I received an immediate response.
"Oh, actually, I had trouble sleeping that night."
Startled by the reply, I accidentally dropped the phone I was holding. From now on, I would like to share what this member had told me while he was on that camping site. This member, despite being an experienced camper who had explored various places across the country, described the night in this remote island as an unforgettable experience. It happened around March of last year. After discovering a promising camping location on a satellite map, he quickly posted a message in the club's chat room, asking who would be interested in joining a camping trip to the remote island over the weekend. 5 people gathered and they embarked on a camping trip together. Although he had some concerns about the large group, it turned out to be a tranquil experience. He even had a photo taken on that day, which shows their temporary home, a tent set up on the beach deck. 3 of them slept in each tent, while the remaining 2 stayed in the camping car. They all enjoyed a peaceful night's sleep. However, in the early hours of the morning, at around 3 o'clock, he was startled by the sound of footsteps outside the tent walking around. Initially, he thought it was one of his companions quietly heading to the restroom, but the footsteps continued, refusing to fade away. Then someone unzipped the tent and entered his tent. Until that moment, he lay still, thinking it was just a prank by one of his group members. However, as he attempted to scratch an itch on his neck, he felt a long strand of hair. Given that all members of their group were men and none had long hair, he suddenly realized something was amiss. He turned around and discovered a woman leaning against his back, grinning and clinging to him persistently. He screamed, shocked by the situation. Just then, another member emerged from the adjacent tent, his face filled with horror. This time they started hearing screams from across the bridge. The screams originated from the location where 2 of his camping group had stayed. Within moments, 2 of their fellow campers frantically crossed the bridge, fleeing towards them.
"Did you see it too?"
They questioned each other in disbelief. In an attempt to come up with a logical explanation, one member started blaming another.
"Don't play games with me. You entered into my tent, didn't you?"
"Hey, did you not see me running from over 500 meters away? How do you think it's possible for me to return in such a short time if I did it?"
Standing there, they stared at one another, still processing the eerie sound that woke them in the early morning, as well as the chilling movements of the woman who persistently clung onto their backs. What had they truly experienced that day? Was it all just a prank? Just as we did, they too were asking the same bewildering questions. In the past, I had a conversation with a shaman about trapped spirits on an island and their possible escape. The shaman revealed to me that there was just one method. The spirits had to attach themselves to a person and depart through that person. As I reflect on the events that unfolded earlier, it now makes sense that the sensation of heaviness on my shoulders that I felt, as if something were perpetually weighing me down. It could be that the ghost, or whatever entity it was attempting to attach itself to me, seeking a way to leave the island by hitching a ride on my back.